Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. We are back and in a big way, and we have absolutely nothing new to talk about because tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw was exactly in the same state that I left it. And even though I gave WWE a whole week to come up with something new, and I got off their back for 1 week, we have to come here tonight and bring the hammer down on everything wrong with tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw like nobody else does. And we are going to do that right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review and reaction show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Wow, man, did I pick a terrible week to go on vacation or what? The wrestling news was coming at us faster than a teenage boy on prom night. Holy cow, I couldn't keep it from coming at me. It was all over the place. I felt all sticky and gross because the news, for the most part, wasn't good. Let's go over it very quickly. We had Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was released from the WWE. We had the mass releases of NXT, the entire restructuring of NXT via the edict by Vince McMahon saying he doesn't want any more midgets, as if Hornswoggle was part of the NXT roster or something, and he does not want people over 30, and he wants to revamp NXT, which is nothing but bad news all around. They released the Nature Boy Ric Flair. We had the deaths of beautiful Bobby Eaton and the assassin Jody Hamilton. All kinds of news coming from all over the place. The only good news anywhere had absolutely nothing to do with the WWE except for the fact that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are supposedly making their way through the doors of All Elite Wrestling. That remains to still be seen and is neither here nor there when talking about Monday Night Raw. Lots and lots of things are happening in the world of professional wrestling, but nothing at all is happening on Monday Night Raw unless they could make sure that you've seen it already over and over again ad nauseum in some cases, because Monday Night Raw is nothing but Monday Night Rematch once again. After being missing for almost 2 months, Randy Orton decided to grace us on Monday Night Raw tonight, sporting a nice new little goatee, which is kind of giving the Viper some really strong rattlesnake vibes. I was feeling like I was looking at a young version of Stone Cold Steve Austin throughout the evening tonight on Monday Night Raw. Randy Orton's story would be the main story of tonight's show, as him and Matt Riddle's relationship is apparently on the rocks, because Matt Riddle would follow Randy Orton to the ring tonight on Monday Night Raw to open the show, only for Randy Orton to decide to break up with Matt Riddle right there in the middle of the ring, despite the fact that he was still wearing an RK Bro sweatshirt. So he doesn't want anything to do with Matt Riddle. He's gonna break up with Matt Riddle. He doesn't want to team with him anymore, but he's still standing there in their team merchandise. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Matt Riddle was completely crushed by all of this, and he was so sad. Everybody else was sad. We were sad. I was sad. You were sad for Matt Riddle, but I was mostly sad because they didn't seem at this point to capitalize on the Riddle-Randy Orton team. But that, like I said, was the overarching story of the show. I was pissed off at first because I figured they threw this all away, but by the end of the night, there's still a chance. I think. I don't know what the WWE is doing any more than they do, because they are absolutely ridiculous when it comes to structure and week to week, keeping things making sense. We all know nothing makes sense in the WWE. All of this would lead to AJ and Omos coming out, because they're probably thinking the same thing we're thinking. Hey, we didn't even get to finish what we started here, but this is just a little bit more storytelling in the road. Randy Orton told Omos that he was big. Surprise, surprise, WWE had to get that line in there. He tells AJ Styles, "Oh, your ego is bigger than Omos over here," or something to such to that effect. And it was okay, I guess, but I don't really care about anything that's going on here right now because I want to know what's happening between Randy and Riddle. But now, they have to further the story along, which they did. And all of this just ended up leading us to a WrestleMania rematch for Randy Orton and AJ Styles. And while the quality of this match is going to be very good, two high caliber superstars head to main event Monday Night Raw tonight, it's still, at the end of the day, just another rematch that we have to sit through, the first of many on this night. And as always, Raw is not fun when all you see is rematch after rematch after rematch. And to make things even more confusing, or to give this match some sort of a reason, AJ Styles says that he's going to challenge Randy Orton. The reason for this match is to see who runs Monday Night Raw. Who runs this shit round here? Is it AJ Styles or is it Randy Orton? How could it possibly be Randy Orton when he hasn't even been on the show in months? Just some really silly, really kind of stupid, ridiculous reasoning placed by the creative team for this match to go on. And it didn't make me want to see it any more or any less. I pretty much knew what we were going to get, and by the end of the night, it's exactly what we got. BumAss Baron Corbin shows up on Monday Night Raw, and this right away makes me know that the quality of this show is not going to get any better from this moment on. You see, what's happening here is Baron BumAss Corbin comes to Monday Night Raw with mustard stains all over his t-shirt. He's walking around looking like a human chia pet. He's got hair coming out of every orifice on his face, his ears, his nose. He just looks completely disheveled, and they want you to feel bad for this guy. They want you to see that he's completely and totally pathetic, to which he admits himself during his time on TV tonight. Drew McIntyre called him pathetic, and Baron Corbin was like, "I know." And am I supposed to laugh at this? Because it's not funny, because I've known this for years, and it's not going to change my perception of Baron Corbin in one way or another. All you have done here was bring Baron Corbin to Monday Night Raw to try to assist Jinder Mahal in taking down Drew McIntyre. And I'm extremely disinterested, because what you have happening here is you have my absolute least favorite superstar on the SmackDown roster right now, BumAss Corbin, and my absolute completely least favorite superstar on Monday Night Raw right now, the modern day new and not improved Jinder Mahal, with his running buddy Schmear and Stanky. So now you take all of those elements, all of these things that I can't stand at all and don't want to see at all, and you put them together in the same segment on the worst show in the history of WWE, and I'm supposed to care about whatever Drew McIntyre is going to do? I certainly do not. He goes on and beats and embarrasses Baron Corbin and his stupid mustard stains even further, and would go on to win this match with a Claymore. But, of course, that can't be all. After the match, Jinder and his boys come out. I'm assuming this was to take out Drew McIntyre or jump him or gain some sort of an advantage, but then Drew McIntyre pulled his sword out of his ass, his sword that now has a backstory that has something to do with his mama, even though we all know that he got this sword from Vince McMahon. It's all a kayfabe nightmare right now, and we got this whole backstory about this sword, and he pulls it out, and then Jinder and his retarded goons just run away because they don't want to be murdered tonight on Monday Night Raw by the babyface good guy, Drew McIntyre, who's out there swinging a sword around like a crazed lunatic. Don't you dare do it, Jinder, because if you come even a step closer, I'm gonna take a pound of flesh out of your arse with my sword that I got from me mammy, because I'm Drew McIntyre, and I'm going to murder ye. Murder. Blah. This is the good guy. The good guy's out there swinging a lethal weapon, threatening to murder Jinder Mahal. And normally I would probably be all right with that from a character perspective. I don't want the man to really be murdered. Let's keep things in perspective. We're talking about a television show here. But in this case, it just keeps getting sillier and sillier and sillier. And Drew and his ridiculous Vince McMahon sword from his mama needs to wrap this gimmick up, put the leather jacket back on, and just be a badass. And stop putting him with people that nobody wants to see. Because you're not helping Drew by putting him with people like Jinder and Baron Corbin. Because it's not impressive to anybody when you beat somebody that simply doesn't matter. Karrion Kross returned to Monday Night Raw tonight again, just so that he could get his win back from Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy took a couple of weeks off for some reason, but now we finally get Karrion versus Hardy Part 2. And the whole internet community was thinking that they were going to bury Karrion Kross once again, but that was not the case. He got his win back. We all knew this is what was going to happen. This was as predictable as apple pie on Thanksgiving Day. It's just going to happen. Because 50-50 booking is Vince McMahon's middle name. It used to be Kennedy, but now it's Vince 50-50 fucking McMahon. Holy shit, how many times do we have to see this crap? All this proves to us is that Karrion Kross is the next in a long line of people that have come up from NXT with a lot of momentum, with a great gimmick and a great character, and are just portrayed as just some guy. Some big, muscly wrestler guy. It's happened to Keith Lee. It's happened to Dijakovic. Look what he is now. He's walking around being called teabag by most of the wrestling community. Nobody that has come up from NXT in the last 2 years has done anything good. They stripped them of all the things that make them special. He came up without Scarlett. He's still the NXT champion, even though he keeps losing on the WWE's A show, the main show, but he's the NXT champion. That's how much Vince McMahon hates NXT right now. He's going to shit all over this guy at every chance he gets. And even though he got his win tonight, what does it mean? What does it matter? He's already been stained. His month on Monday Night Raw has been irrelevant. It's only been made infamous by the fact that he lost in his debut match to a babyface Jeff Hardy who decided to cheat to win to protect the heel. That's ass backwards booking. And by the way, Jeff Hardy tried to cheat his way to a win on a couple of occasions during this match with Kross on this night, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You know what it means? It means we're going to see it again. And it's probably going to happen again next week, and then the week after that, and then the week after that, until they settle it all at SummerSlam. And I don't know. That's the best they got. Definitely isn't good enough. In one of the dumbest segments in the history of Monday Night Raw, and this is a show that has a shitload of dumb segments in its history to backlog and look through, this one definitely is up there, maybe even top 5. Alexa Bliss, everybody's favorite boogie girl right now, defeated Doudrop Piper Niven in one of the most ridiculous ways they have ever come up with. If they think that this somehow makes it not damaging to Piper Niven, they're all smoking some serious crack and maybe should give it to the rest of the WWE universe so we could all be on the same track, because it doesn't. It doesn't. What they did to her here makes her look even stupider than if she lost via a regular distraction roll-up or via disqualification or for any other reason she could have lost. But tonight, Piper Niven lost to Alexa Bliss because Lily the Doll, who was placed in the corner by Alexa Bliss prior to the match, winked at her. An inanimate object that is not alive was placed on the corner of a wrestling ring, and then the WWE thought they'd be cute, and they threw in this extreme close-up cut shot with some digital effects of the doll giving you a little winky dink like that. But he wasn't winking at you. He was winking at Piper Niven, or at least we're supposed to believe that. And Doudrop stood there like, holy shit. Oh, huh, huh. The doll just fucking winked at me. Huh, huh. It's as if she completely forgot that she was a professional wrestler in the middle of a match, which is her job, and she's supposed to be facing Alexa Bliss, and she's distracted by a doll that winked at her because it's some scary, spooky shit. And I don't know. How does that make Piper Niven not look bad? It makes her look the most of bad. Not a phrase, but I just made it up. It's the most of all the bads. That's what she looks tonight. Terrible. Terrible. This whole Alexa Bliss shit has got to go.
Hey everybody, this is the Fiend here. I just wanted to take a minute to ask you guys to please don't blame Alexa Bliss. Don't take it out on Alexa. It's not her fault that Vince McMahon took my thing and gave it to her. It's not her fault. She's probably got my blessing if I really think about it hard enough. But you guys gotta understand something, man. Alexa's not in control of what she does, so it's not right that you guys are chanting for me while she's out there trying to wrestle, doing the best she can, and yeah, it sucks. Nobody likes it, and nobody's happy about it, especially not me, but I'm in a better place now. And I'm gonna be just fine, so do me a favor. Don't blame Alexa. Don't boo Alexa. It's not the poor girl's fault. Thank you very much. This has been a public service announcement from your friend, the Fiend.
He's got a point. The crowd chants of "We want Wyatt" should have been expected here. I'm sure Kevin Dunn was ready with his finger on the trigger to mute the live mics and feed in the bullshit audio. And it's just worth saying. It's not really fair to Alexa, this R.L. Stein, Nickelodeon Goosebumps kitty horror bullshit thing that they're doing with her. It's run its course. It means nothing if it's not going to be connected to the Fiend in some way. It's just ridiculous. But yes, it's not her fault that Bray Wyatt is gone. So I thought that was a little bit uncalled for, although I did expect it. However, there is no defending Doudrop being rolled up by Alexa Bliss because Lily winked at her, and we heard a little blinging sound, which is a real thing that happened tonight on Monday Night Raw. The worst show on television. I just can't. Ugh. Hey, guess what? It's time for another rematch alert. I figured I'd let you guys know before we delve into these situations because we had the United States champion Sheamus taking on Ricochet again, where they're doing another one of these championship contenders matches, which is another one of the stupidest things ever. It's one of the things that we, I think, as a community, hate when the WWE does, and we hated it before they gave it a cutesy little stupid name like calling it a championship contenders match, when they used to just do this all the time by having somebody just randomly beat the champion and now he's the new contender. But now they gave it a fancy name, they put up a little graphic for it, and now the championship contenders matches are happening on every single fucking show. So how many contenders to how many championships are there at the end of the day? It's just so pointless. And it's made even worse for the challenger in the scenario when you have the champion put this opportunity up for grabs and you have the championship contenders match where this guy Ricochet, who barely deserves the shot as it is, because when was the last time he even won a fucking match? He's lost to Sheamus about 17 times already, and what qualifies him for a shot at the title in the first place? Who knows the logic that goes on in the mind of the madman Vince McMahon behind the curtains? But this is the reality of it. We get another friggin' rematch. Sheamus defeats Ricochet, making him look even less valuable than he did going in. And I'm not an advocate for pinning the champion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Ricochet should have won. What I'm saying is, what the fuck is the point? The champion should be defending his title against guys like Ricochet, while simultaneously two other dudes like Damien Priest and John Morrison, say, duel it out to see who's the number one contender and the next in line for the championship. But instead, we have to beat the champion in order to get a shot at the champion. That's not how it works. Is that how it works in boxing? Is that how it works in the UFC? No. There's no non-title. If you're fighting the champion, you're fighting the champion for the title, and that's it. And that's because you earned it and you deserved it. There is none of that here in the WWE. And it's absolutely sad. It's sad. Just like the state of Monday Night Raw. Speaking of Damien Priest, you know it. If you watched the show, you knew it. Damien Priest came out after Sheamus's victory to confront him. He wants a shot at the United States Championship. He wants to challenge Sheamus at SummerSlam. Surely this match will be added to the card. And I'm okay with that. I think it's going to be a great match. Hopefully they don't ruin it on the way to the match in the build, because they're so terrible at doing those things like buildings. But we had Damien Priest versus John Morrison. Once again, it was what it was. It was a decent match. What I can't stomach is the amount of water puns that are being filtered, no pun intended there, throughout Monday Night Raw. Between Corey Graves and John Morrison, I'm sure these two guys got a running bet to see who can have the stupidest, or at least who can have the most water-based puns by the end of the night for Johnny Drip Drip, who was in an interview in the back, was talking to Sheamus, and he's like, "Oh, you're tripping. Now you're soon gonna be dripping." And he probably came up with that himself, and it wasn't written for him or anything, but it's everything that comes out of John Morrison's mouth right now is just completely cringeworthy. And Corey Graves is jumping in on the bandwagon, always calling him the moist guy or whatever the hell he calls himself. It's awful. It's awful, and I hate it. But Damien Priest defeats John Morrison here with the Reckoning, and we move on. Damien Priest will probably be defeating Sheamus at SummerSlam for the United States Championship. The surprising thing about this segment happened probably at the end, because it was predictable as hell until Damien Priest went to get in the face of The Miz, and The Miz was so fearful of being hurt by Priest that he ended up standing up. The Miz was so scared he forgot that he was injured, and it was a miracle. The Lord blessed The Miz and said, boom, hey, you can walk now. Run for your life, because Damien Priest is going to kick your ass. And I laughed a little bit at that, because when The Miz stood up, it's like, oh my God, he realized he just fucked up. I just thought it was mildly amusing. Not a reason to sit through 3 hours of terrible fucking television, but you got to take your moments where you can. And it's not usually The Miz that gives me something to laugh at, so you got to give credit where credit's due. Former Retribution guys Teabag and Mush were on the show. Why? So that we can have another rematch. Teabag would go one-on-one with former Retribution leader Mustafa Ali, a match we have seen before. Ali was given a brand new coat by his new little running buddy Mansoor before the match. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but it was nice to see them getting along, I guess. But then Teabag would go out there and defeat Ali, the very talented, very underrated, very underutilized Ali, in just 3 minutes, despite Mansoor's best efforts to try to help this dude out. At one point, he pointed out to the referee that Ali's foot was on the ropes, where he was almost going to count him out, but it was all for nothing anyway because he fucking lost regardless. So this was just them continuing this story, and we are going to probably next see Mush versus Mansoor, and then we will see T-Bar and Mush versus Mansoor and Ali in a tag match, maybe at SummerSlam, maybe on the Raw before SummerSlam, maybe on every single show going forward until we get to fucking Christmas at the rate we're going. Who knows with this show anymore? And if you needed any further proof to just how bad Monday Night Raw was tonight, R-Truth and Akira Tozawa showed up in disguises to try to wrestle the, hey, look at me, I'm a clown, I wear this 24/7 gold-plated avocado-colored championship belt still, which is a thing that still exists for some godforsaken reason. They try to go get it back from the no longer French Reggie. He's not Reginald anymore, he's just Reggie. And Reggie was able to escape his way to safety by flipping. And I've said it many times on this show, and I will continue to say it. I said it on Twitter. I've said it everywhere I could. Reggie, flip your ass on out of here, because nobody's impressed with your little flippy shit. No flips, just fists was a saying for a reason. Get your Cirque du Soleil nonsense the fuck out of here. How about them apples? All right? 24/7 championship. The WWE champion, Bobby Lashley, would come out to cut a promo on Bill Goldberg. Actually, if we could be more accurate here, MVP came out to cut a promo on Boy Goldberg, Billy's little boy, threatening him, if we're being honest here. MVP told the boy not to show up. He said, you better not show up to SummerSlam, because if you do, Bobby Lashley is going to beat your daddy even worse than he originally had planned, apparently. Which is a pretty solid threat. And then he went on to say Lashley will end Billy's career. And it will all be put on the shoulders of Boy Goldberg, sitting in the crowd, who grew like a goddamn weed. In the last 2 years, the kid went from being 6 years old to 17. I don't know what the hell happened here. Holy shit. But some genes this guy's got, I guess. Lashley ended this whole thing by saying to Goldberg, you're not next. You're done. Sorry, Bill Berg. Lashley's going to take your ass out. Well, at least that's what he wants you to believe. Up next, a terrible promo by Rhea Ripley. So terrible, in fact, that she could actually start giving Charlotte Flair a run for her money in the contest for who's the worst at delivering their promos. Oh my God, talk about robotic. This was worse than robotic. She seemed uncomfortable, as if she didn't want to even say the words that they scripted her. It was just a very strange feeling promo. She talked some shit about Nikki S. in her ridiculous superhero promo here. And then we would get the response with an equally terrible promo by Nikki ASH, who said she's going to win tonight because she has a special nightlight. I'm going to repeat that because you might think I just had a stroke and says it. No. Nikki Ash, almost a superhero who's proud of all this almost shit. I almost won. I'm almost going to... no. Almost is with AJ Styles. Will you stop with all the almost? Okay? But she says she's going to win tonight because she has a special fucking nightlight. And this gimmick continues to be much worse than it should be. And again, much like the Fiend said with Alexa, I'm going to go out on a limb right now and tell you that it's not really Nikki's fault. I mean, well, it kind of is because this was her idea, but I have to believe that they're trying to write for this character and they're just coming across as so cheesy. This is like Disney Junior kind of writing, maybe even less than that. You could find better promos written on Noggin. And some of you parents, you know what I'm talking about. Or some of you younger adults, maybe you got a little sister or a little brother that's growing in the toddler age, and you hear all these shows, or maybe you sit and watch them, and they're more compelling than the shit that these guys write for their superstars. So Nikki ASH has the power of her fucking special nightlight, and she's gonna fight Rhea Ripley tonight, and neither one of them are worth a damn when it comes to being on the microphone, and both of them are representing a character that has not been built in any proper fashion at all. Maybe Nikki's got a little bit more momentum than Rhea because she's just been like a walking avatar without a soul. It's just plain as the goth makeup plastered all over her face that this girl is just an uncomfortable mess. And I don't get it. Why not do something you're comfortable with? I feel like she's a poser. And she's just trying too hard to be something she's not. And it's not coming across. Nikki Cross maybe believes in this gimmick, but it's being written for 2-year-olds. And that's not going to make anybody happy. By the way, these two were in their match would wrestle to a no contest because the queen of the robots, Charlotte Flair, showed up and got in the way. Causing a DQ, of course, beating them up and holding the championship over her head, giving us a promo later on backstage where she said all the same shit that she always says and flumbled all over herself and fumbled all over her lines and kept making mistakes, you know, the way Charlotte does when she does a promo. And I will go on record to say that I am happier to see her used this way tonight than they originally had intended, because Monday Night Raw had announced that tonight she was going to have this huge speech about losing to Nikki ASH Crosshairs H last week. And so, I mean, you got to pick the lesser of the two evils, right? It was shorter, it probably was less painful on everybody's ears, even though she still got her 2 cents in. Rather it this way than a 20-minute diatribe putting me half to sleep at the start or in the middle of this show. So essentially, as far as this is concerned, nothing at all has moved forward. We are exactly where we were when we started everything with these women at the beginning of the show. And that is terrible storytelling. Throughout the night backstage, we seen Matt Riddle try to make up with Randy Orton. We also seen Randy Orton talking to the new promo machine bot in the back, telling him that he doesn't want to be with Matt Riddle anymore because he just works better alone, and he's going to prove it tonight by beating AJ Styles, which led us to the main event, which was, as we all expected, a very good match and as predictable as you could expect, because we all already knew going in what was going to happen. Omos was going to try to do something, and really all he did was take his coat off and kind of threaten to get involved in this match, but this prompted Matt Riddle to show up scooting down like a house on fire, and he would jump on the back of Omos, throwing him into the steel post, and AJ Styles would try to deliver a phenomenal forearm for the win, only to be caught in an RKO, which is a finish we've seen them do before. The crowd gave a little pop, of course, because it's an RKO out of nowhere on AJ Styles, and Randy Orton picked up the win. After this, Riddle wanted to celebrate. He went into the ring and he wanted a hug from Randy Orton. Randy Orton initially refused, walked out of the ring, or tried to walk out of the ring, but Riddle would coax him back in. They were playing with the fans, getting the fans involved, and Matt Riddle just wanted to hug it out with his RK Bro. And Randy Orton finally went along with it, embraced Matt Riddle, gave him a hug, smiled. They were holding their arms up, and you all already knew before I'm about to even say it that before the show went off the air, Randy Orton turned around just as Byron Suckbag said, "Oh, they're back together. I think they're back together." Randy Orton hits an RKO on poor little Matt Riddle. And he did it with a smile and like a chuckle, and gave Matt Riddle even a little pat on the back as he was getting up. And I have no fucking idea where they are going with this now, because at the beginning of the show, you said they were breaking up. You teased throughout the entirety of the show that that's not actually the case. They still seem to be on a trajectory to be facing the World Tag Team Champions, possibly at SummerSlam, which I think everybody in the community, every fan in the universe is kind of looking forward to that, because there's nothing at all going on in the tag team division but that. And you get AJ in the ring with Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. That's all I really need. We all know what Omos is already going to do, but it's like, are you going to pay that off or not? I thought for sure Randy and Riddle were going to get the titles from them before they started to implode, but WWE pulled the trigger on that tonight. I don't think that was the right move. I think that was wrong. I mean, everybody was been just waiting for Randy to come back and redo this thing with Riddle, and it just kind of blew up in his face. Poor Matt Riddle. So sad throughout the night. I genuinely felt bad for Matt Riddle. I wanted to give him a hug, the poor guy, and I'm not even one of his biggest fans. If you follow this show for a while, you already know that. And some of you have been here with me since day one. Since day one, which was August 16th or 17th. I have to look back on the calendar. I'm pretty sure it was the 16th of August. 5 years ago, we began this show, and we are coming up on the 6th anniversary of the birthday of this channel. And I wouldn't still be sitting here if it wasn't for every single one of you guys. And I want to take this time to thank each and every one of you for being patient with me. I know sometimes we get, a little sidetracked, and we've had some technical difficulties towards the end of the year with some equipment malfunctions, and I just took my vacation and whatever, but we're gearing up to come back at you guys in a big way, and we are the only place where you can go where the hammer falls hard on the WWE, and nobody does it like you guys and me. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey. Don't forget why you're here, to do all the YouTube things, because you are on YouTube and you watched me for nearly 40 minutes, which means you enjoyed the shit out of yourself, just like I enjoyed myself talking to you guys. So make sure you smash that thumbs up so that I know you had a good time. Do the whole subscribe and notification thing, because I'm looking to get to that 3,000 subscriber mark before SummerSlam, and I think you guys can help me do it. And if we do it, maybe I'll wear more clothes from the Seth Rollins collection. By the way, I got this shirt from my super secret Seth Rollins closet. Doesn't it match some of the suits he's been wearing? I don't know. You tell me. What do you think of the Seth Rollins t-shirt? No, it's not Seth Rollins. I made this myself. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's just a thing. I just put it on. I'll throw it away when the show is over. I promise. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, his tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, formerly the Snowball, now the Yeti microphone. Man, I went right back into those old habits. Let's try not to let that be a thing. Anyway, we're being candid, because you guys love me. If you're here with me this long, you know the deal. The most important member of this team, as always, is you, because I can't survive without your eyeballs. Thank you all so very much once again. That is going to do it, my friends. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.